to me it seems like, okay, you have a certain mindset, and no matter what evidence is going to be provided to you, you are not going to accept, because you have automatically labeled it magical.
Right.
Now, when I explored it further, it suddenly came to the situation where you actually accepted something totally magical, but you are trying to put a scientific spin on it.
Like
My
totally
perspective,
magical?
my perspective.
What did I accept to be totally magical?
I'm sorry, if I can just finish and then I'll tell you. Yeah.
I didn't accept
Okay?
anything totally magical.
No.
You're being ridiculous. What did I accept that was totally magical?
Well,
Tell me.
I might not actually.
Tell me, innit? You just said that about me.
Ansar,
Tell
in
me
a
what it is.
conversation, we don't need to use words like ridiculous, stupid, etc.
Bro,
I'm sure we can
you
have a
said
reasonable
that
conversation.
I
Yeah?
agreed in a totally magical
You did.
explanation. Like what? What was the
Like what?
magical
I'll tell
explanation?
you. When I asked you about intuition, yes, and we talked about how the scientific method, I said, what about prior to the scientific method? You relied on the naturalistic explanation. The gentleman at the back said, even before the humans. I said, right. And when I asked you, okay, how do you define it? You said you don't know. So you relied on something magical.
No, not knowing something doesn't mean I made up a magical explanation for it.
Do we know everything
So
about the
what he's talking
creator?
about. Right, so he's saying...
Answer,
that
why are you talking to
Okay,
them? I'm
so,
here.
bro,
I'm only talking to
I let
you.
you speak.
But I'm only talking to you.
I don't care. I let you speak.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Well, if that is the case.
Bro, I let you speak. Let me speak.
Answer.
I'll speak to you if it means that much to you.
Answer.
yeah?
No,
The
no,
fact
it's
of the
not,
matter-
not meaning. Just let's have a civil conversation and respect.
Right, you
I'm
don't,
doing
you don't
that.
define how we have a conversation, yeah?
I'm not defining, I'm merely suggesting.
You guys came to get me
Answer.
to have this talk. So
I
please,
didn't.
So please don't
didn't.
force me into
I
doing things
won't
your
force
way.
you.
Right, so let me do
Nobody
things my
can.
way. You are saying that because I had to admit at some point in the scientific model of explanation of things, there is some non-fact or some place where we have to admit we don't know for sure. Because of that, which you can always find out in any topic in science, he then says, therefore you had to have relied on a magical explanation. No. I will refer to the scientific models and explanations of things which can be repeatedly tested and verified by independent people, as far as that they are convincing. When we get to a very specific aspect of an established theory, and we are not sure exactly because we don't have the tools to test it, or maybe it's just that difficult to get there to test, whatever, we have to admit we don't know on those things. So he comes along and says, well, eventually I got you to say you don't know about something, and therefore you still thought it was true, so you believe in magic. Guys, when did I refer to a magical explanation, a magical dimension, or anything like that? I seek to explain within the natural world as far as it's convincing. Yeah, as far as it's convincing. When there are gaps and limits to our knowledge, I'll just say, I don't know about that. We don't know about that. Let's see what the experts say. And most of them might say, we don't know about that for sure either. That's why there are a number of different theories out there which have to be peer reviewed and repeatedly tested until we do get a better picture. And even then it's not a guaranteed absolute fact, which is what he's fishing for. Yeah? I can only explain it like that, my friend.
Oh, you're talking to me? Okay. Right. Well, number one, I'm not fishing for absolutes because I was only asking you about how you thought. Now, if it came across like that, then it comes back to you. Number one. Number two, when I'm speaking to you and I'm talking about establishing certain facts, I constantly told you, why don't we consider the evidence? You are the one who used the word intuition, so I explored that a bit with you. And when I did explore it and it went a bit further, you did become uncomfortable, as you are right now. Why? Because, it was a dead end really. And I was exploring that. Because when we are wanting to establish certain things, and I have noticed that every time you constantly repeat the scientific method, although as though it gives validity to your argument, well, respectfully it doesn't. Okay, you are merely repeating what you've already said 3 times. However, having said that, I wanted to explore, which I'm still trying to, explore that when you are so reliant on a method, the scientific method, did you apply it to everything? And when I said, can we apply it to the intuition? Yes, you were basically stuck, okay? The bottom line, as it were, Ansar, is this, that I respect your views in relation to how you viewed things, and on that basis left Islam. I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is when individuals, and I'm not only talking about you, when individuals are claiming the superior position on the basis of the scientific method, and when it is explored just for a few minutes, it all crumbles to bits, then I have a situation where I'm considering whether the individual I'm speaking to actually has the necessary evidence to be able to formulate a reasonable conclusion. And that's what I was... Shall we cut it?
carry on, sorry.
You sure? Okay. Yeah? At the end of the day, you see, brother,
Yeah.
I have only one view. We all learn by talking to each other. We have disagreements. It is normal in conversation. But the basis for what we are discussing ought to be evidence. And that evidence, once produced, should be considered logically, rationally, and reasonably. Now, I did notice, and I've said this to you, Ansar, that many a time when you are talking, as soon as you introduce this element of a creator or anything associated, you use the word magical. Magical this, magical this, magical that.
Yes.
And the moment I used it where it was appropriate, you got upset. And I'm thinking, well, if I can just finish, Ansar. You see, I'm thinking, wait a minute, Ansar, it's not a problem.
Well, we've been talking a long time.
If I can just finish, I'm nearly finished. You did speak and I allowed you and I stayed silent. At the end of the day, I would suggest one thing, Ansar, that if you are going to discount anything, doesn't have to be only matters related to religion, if you are going to discount anything, at least owe yourself that much that you will look at the evidence appropriately and then discount it.
Right.
Is that okay?
Are you done
There is perhaps something I can ask you to do. Yeah? If you have discounted the Quran, and this was many years ago, where you still look very young, yeah? I would say one thing, brother, yeah? Why don't we do this? And I would say this to you, that look, let's meet again, because we'll be back in 3 or 4 weeks.
Well,
One
you do
second,
this to
Ansar, let me
everyone.
finish. Let me finish. Yes, because if I'm talking to someone who perhaps is not familiar with the information, then it
What
becomes a
information?
long,
What
if I can just
information?
finish, it becomes a long-winded one. So, if you rejected the Quran, I don't mind if we want to discuss the Quran and the Bible. I don't mind, I can do that. Yeah, but don't you think you should look at the evidence and then let's
evidence?
come back. For example, if I tell you, okay, what made you discount the Bible? What would you say?
Same reasons that it didn't make sense to me. It doesn't seem like it's true. It looks like it's much more written by human beings, made up by human beings.
Yeah. Excellent.
Same
you see,
reasons.
it doesn't seem, it looks like it's this, it's that. It's not very scientific in your approach. That's what I'm considering. Yeah. All I'm saying is, look, perhaps
all you're saying
what we need to do.
all you're really saying is that you can't scientifically disprove a subjective text.
No.
Whoopee.
You can't
Did I
sign.
claim that you could?
You've
Bro,
gone
if
off a
that's-
tangent. I didn't say
that
anything
is
like
your
that.
point. That is
you
your
see,
only point.
brother. You are again projecting. I have never said anything like that. I was actually exploring only what you
That is
said.
exactly what you're saying.
That
is exactly
well, if you
what
want to
you're saying.
believe that, that's entirely your decision. But scientifically,
Shabir,
you are incorrect.
Shabir, you
Ansar,
know what
if
you
I can
do.
just finish. No, I don't know how you are thinking like that. Now, this is what you would call, what you are always referring to, perhaps, potentially, intellectual dishonesty. But let's leave it at that. Yeah. Having said that, you see, Ansar, all I am saying to you is this.
If I
brother.
can have a chance to speak here, because you went on for a long one and I had something to say about it, which is the same thing I said before. But I have to say it because you're just not understanding. Yeah. Now, we look. Human beings have been trying to work out what's going on in the world. Yeah. Now, at the end of the day, thousands of years ago, people looked at nature and they saw lightning, they saw earthquakes, they saw people dying, they saw all kinds of horrible shit, and they thought, why does that happen? Yeah. They didn't have a formalized way of finding these things out, yeah? So they made up silly stories. They made up magical stories with magical guys up there doing all this stuff, but ultimately caring about us and gonna give us justice. Wow, doesn't it seem so typical that a primitive human being in hundreds of different cultures would make up the same stupid shit? Of course it does, yeah? So when I look at that and I see that those are the type of stories that people made up thousands of years ago, I'm pretty suspicious about them being actually true. Now, as time has gone on and the scientific method gained momentum and weight because it kept being useful and giving us explanatory power as well as predictive power. Yeah? When it was able to start doing things like that, it became very obvious that all these things that we made up gods and magic for was unnecessary. There was never a good reason to invent a magical explanation for the physical world. So one by one, why does it rain? We worked out the electromagnetic forces. Why does earthquakes happen? What's it called? Tectonic plates moving. Every single thing was replaced with a physical explanation and the magical explanation was thrown out the window. So he says to me again, but I got you down to a place with intuition where you couldn't explain the scientific, therefore you had to rely on magic. No, when we don't have an explanation for something, we will say we don't know, we are exploring, we have a number of possibilities, more work has to be done until we find a better explanation. That's not relying on magic, but guess what? when you can't work out why it rains or why lightning happens, and then you say Zeus sends spears down to kill gay people or people who didn't pray, that is a completely magical and frivolous and unnecessary explanation. And he doesn't seem to understand the difference between the two things. Your turn.
You see, Ansar, you keep repeating yourself respectfully like an old record. Yeah, number one,
You said that
if I can
3 or
just
4
finish,
times.
I know I have to. I'm talking to you.
So why do you think I have to repeat myself? Because I'm talking to you.
Because you want to convince yourself you're
No,
right.
it's because I'm talking to you.
Okay, can we move on? Yeah, good. Yeah, you see, when you talk about the primitive peoples did X, Y, and Z, I'm here thinking this is the gentleman who is discounting evidence.
What evidence?
If I can just finish. I was quiet when you spoke.
But you keep calling this evidence that I discount.
You
Which
discounted
evidence?
when you formulated your
But which
reasons for
evidence
why
did I discount? The Quran?
there was no evidence. That's what I'm relying on. Yeah, you see, at the end of the day, when you talk about primitive peoples, it is like as though you actually went back in time and interviewed them and asked them, did you do this and did you rely on a magical? It sounds silly, respectfully.
It doesn't sound silly
If
that
I
they
can-
got a magical link in a cave from some magical god. That doesn't sound silly.
I
But
didn't-
me assuming
I
that,
did-
that human beings done it all with their hands and minds, that sounds silly.
And so I didn't interject. I'm sure you can hold patience.
Bro,
if you are
what
on
you're
the
saying
right,
is just, come on, man.
well,
It's
when
not
you
very
said
smart.
silly things, I said quietly and listen. Anyway, let's not get to that. Okay. At the end of the day, it seems like you did, but I know you didn't. You couldn't have. You cannot do it. So you are relying on third-party evidence, which I can surmise you have not even thoroughly considered.
Bro, I'm really
so
getting
one
bored of this.
second,
I'm
one
getting
second.
bored of this.
I got bored from the first 5 minutes, but I'm
Bro,
still continuing.
I'm
Don't worry.
getting bored of it.
Look, listen, Ansar. At the end of the day, we will come to a close. Don't worry about it. I don't mind. Yeah. At the end of the day, you've got to accept that if your position, and I agree with it, if your position is that you don't know, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But then, don't come out with this magical idea because
so
it makes you
his
look
point is
silly.
simply,
Can I
as a
finish? Can I
naturalist,
finish?
we have to rely on
Can
the
I-
physical models of how the world operates. There's some places you go down and we don't have an explanation like, can infinity exist? Is the universe was created or made or infinite or whatever? There's certain questions we don't have a conclusive answer for. So he says, because we don't have a conclusive answer, we must believe in magic, otherwise how could that happen? No, bro. We know that we are limited.
Thankfully-
you guys are the ones
5
that
minutes.
are the only ones
2 minutes,
that
yeah.
make up a magical explanation for things, and you cannot equate that with gaps in scientific knowledge, because we admit we don't know. We only go as far as the evidence allows us to.
Right, Ansar. You see, you have this knack to say things which I never even mentioned, but I can see because you have got a rehearsed way of discussing things, and that's all you've been
I've got a
repeating.
rehearsed way.
Okay,
Have you checked his videos?
Yeah, can I just finish? You can be personal, I don't mind. Yeah, at the
You're
end
not
of the-
talking about me, yeah?
No,
When
I'm
you
talking
said-
about your ideas.
When you said I've got a rehearsed
your
way,
ideas.
you're not talking about me.
No, your ideas.
Right, then.
Yeah, there's a distinction. I'm sure
Really?
you know the difference.
Really?
Yeah, you look at that.
And all I did was, have you checked his videos? Yeah?
Answer. Yeah, no problem. I don't mind. You're making me famous. Thank you. Yeah.
You don't need me to make you
You
famous,
see,
bro.
at the end of the day, Ansar, the fact is,
Yeah.
when you say you don't know,
Yeah.
you will note that when we started, I said we don't all know everything, didn't I? The camera will prove it. And it just shows that, well, you seem to have this idea that, okay, these religionists have this magical idea.
Yes. it is
Yet on the...
It
on-
is magical,
If
though.
I can finish, you see, it is only that if you can stand here, despite having told me that science doesn't deal with absolutes, yet here you are confidently asserting exactly that.
So because science
if I
doesn't
can
deal with
finish,
absolutes,
Ansar.
does that mean science deals with magic?
Look,
No.
Ansar, I know you are trying to
Bro,
convince
this is
yourself
a
that's
joke. I
entirely
can't
yours.
believe what you're talking about.
I agree with you, but you are the one who are
what?
talking about it like that.
Laughing at
Yeah?
Yeah.
You can say that. But at the end
Bro,
of the day, you
just
see,
because
Ansar,
science
just
doesn't
finally,
deal in
finally.
absolutes, that doesn't give you an excuse to call science dealing in magic.
I haven't done
What are
that.
you
I'm talking about...
You had said that. You
No,
just said that.
Ansar, I'm talking about you, not the method. You see, at the end of the day, respectfully, I would say that I would adjure you to actually consider the evidence appropriately.
What evidence? I've been asking you this from the beginning. What evidence?
Simplify for him and tell him what evidence.
Okay, thank you. Right. You see,
us.
at
you guys don't know either.
at the end of the day, Ansar,
Yes.
you see, if you take the position, and I already mentioned it, you take the position of you don't know, okay, everything. I'm qualifying it, yeah? You don't know everything,
quick there.
then It's not only that, Ansar. If you are making that admission, all I'm saying to you is the look. In that case, you cannot discount any. If I can just finish.
And I didn't. I said that
Well,
there's
you
still a
have.
possibility.
Well, if there is a possibility, then there is a possibility you
Yeah, but
believe.
that possibility
If I can
is
just
the same
finish,
as the
Ansar.
possibility in any
There's
type of
yes,
thinking.
exactly, and there's also a
So
possibility.
there's no
you
reason to give Islam any special treatment.
There is also a possibility that you'll believe in this very magical person in the sky. Do you agree?
I don't.
You see, so it's a pretense that
No,
oh
because
yes,
I
you
know
will,
what
you
I
will.
believe. It
Yeah.
might be a possibility for you.
Do you
but
know what you believe?
Yes.
On what?
That I
Based
don't
on
believe
evidence
in
or
it.
intuition?
Bro,
Which
what is
one?
wrong with you? What are you trying to get at?
It's
What are you trying to
intuition.
get at? What are you trying to get
A
at?
pleasure, Ansar.
You want to cut it there?
Look, at the end of the day, I wanted to discuss it based on evidence, but it seems like
So I said to you, what's the evidence? So have you ever given me one piece of evidence that I should have looked at?
If you
Bro, you've been going on about
Ansar,
evidence this whole
Ansar.
time. Give me one piece of evidence
Ansar.
that I should have analysed.
Answer. If you noticed from the start, it is what you said, and I was addressing what you said.
Yeah,
And then I only went on what you said, and if it's caused this confusion, well, I'm sorry. Yeah. What I am saying to you is,
No, but
look,
just
let's
give me the
look at the evidence.
Yes, so
yeah.
which
Now here,
evidence?
here,
Which
listen to me.
evidence?
I already asked you about the Bible and the Quran.
Yeah.
What I am
So you
suggesting.
consider that to be evidence?
No, no. What I'm suggesting.
How can you consider the Bible and the Quran to be evidence? Come on, bro.
I know it's difficult for you to appreciate what I'm about to say, but I'm sure you'll understand. You see, anything and everything is to be considered evidence until it is discounted. Now, you might not have learned that, but I'm telling you sincerely, everything can be considered evidence until it is discounted logically, rationally, reasonably. The Quran, you see, the brother
Everything
himself
is
said,
evidence until it's discounted.
one second.
Everything is evidence to the Bible being true until you discount it.
Exactly, because you have to analyze the evidence.
Right.
It's something you are not privy to, it seems like. Yeah, but I will tell you
It's
something.
just special
Ansar.
pleading. You
At
can
the
use
end,
the same evidence that the Bible would claim.
here we
and
go
use
again with the usual special pleading, this,
Bro,
that.
what's the
Look,
evidence? I've been asking you so many times.
Are
Which
you
evidence?
saying the Bible cannot be considered evidence, or the Quran
Bro,
cannot be
what is
considered
the evidence?
No,
Tell
I'm
me.
asking you. Can you
You
consider
keep
it
going on
evidence?
about I didn't check the evidence. We should start from the evidence. What evidence?
I can't simplify it any more than this.
No, but what evidence? Give me the evidence. Which evidence?
One second. Yeah, the Bible.
Do you want to come and
number one.
take over?
No, he's helping you. He's assisting you. Answer, brother.
If he's not listening, just come in and do it
When
for
did you
him,
guys
innit?
come? Did you just come now?
Bro,
Okay.
if he's
Yeah.
not following his script, come and put him right, innit? No. Prompt him.
It's your script. He's trying to understand.
He's not talking to me. I don't
Not
know.
mine.
He keeps telling you to say something.
He's telling
he keeps
you.
telling you to say something.
Well,
What?
basically, brother.
If you need his help, just bring him in. innit?
Brother.
Just bring him in.
Brother, at the end of the day, yes, all I say is that if we look at something and it is considered evidence, then we have to be humble enough to accept it as evidence.
What do you
until-
consider
One
evidence?
second.
What do you consider evidence?
1 second.
I want to get down to it.
I asked you, do you consider the Bible as evidence?
For what?
Yeah?
Evidence for
For
what?
assessment.
Bro, what?
Yes or no?
I can consider the Bible
Yes or no?
to be evidence for a book, evidence for a human being must have wrote it, evidence for a God. Those are three different things. So what is it evidence for?
Excellent. Let's look at all three and consider it as such.
I think
Is
it's
it
evidence. I think it's evidence that a human being wrote it in a human language during a human period.
Excellent. Now, don't you think?
I don't think it's evidence for anything more than that.
Right, excellent. But you do consider it to be evidence.
Evidence for
Yes.
human and natural.
Right, excellent. Now, logic dictates that if me and you are going to agree or disagree over the contents of the book, we should reasonably assess them. Correct? Sorry?
Yeah.
Yes. That's all I'm asking. Did you do that? And the affirmative answer from you has been no.
Well,
And all I said is, look, let's explore that possibility.
So I didn't tell you that when I was in university for 3 years, I had a lot of discussions and debate with Muslims who used to tell me it says this in the Quran, that proves it's true. Yeah. So then I went through and looked at their claims and found that no, these are just silly misinterpretations of stupid Arabic, ancient Arabic, and anybody can come along and post hoc say it said this and that kind of stuff. So I did look at the evidence. Because you just said that was the evidence. The book.
The evidence that you relied on, I said, is there a possibility, you know about the seven heavens, is there a possibility that later on, using the scientific method, we may arrive at something we did not know, yes or no?
Yeah. So is it a possibility?
That's fine.
So is it a possibility that later
It's so
on
reasonable.
we might find out that 100% the Quran was false and the Bible was true? Yes. So what is your point, bruv? Isn't it something that's irrelevant?
You see, if I say yes and I am saying yes,
But then we
it
haven't
makes it-
established anything. You've just said there's
Thank
a possibility
you.
that everything could be untrue, and
At
I've
last,
said there's a
you've got
possibility
it.
everything could be untrue.
Answer, you've got
so
it.
what? What is the reason why I would
The
think that the Quran is more likely to be true than any other silly book? Why? This is what you're supposed to
Ansar,
be.
you see-
if you're going to say that your goal in calling me over to debate was to establish that we can't know anything is true and you can't know anything is true, well done, mate.
You are
I've
going-
always said
Ansar.
that. I've always said that.
Answer, you keep repeating the same old thing. Yeah. No worries.
Yeah, because you are meant to
Ansar.
try and convince me
Ansar.
why I would take one silly book to be more likely to be true than any other silly book. Yeah, but you haven't even attempted to do that. All you've come